Hi guys, my name is Chidexi and welcome to the Truth Podcast. On today's episode, we want to talk about the topic titled patience. So let's dissect into this patient thing. It's not like we're all patient. I'm not even patient. But we're learning. We're learning. As I'm growing, I'm learning how to be patient. And one thing I have realized is patience is a virtue, and patience is the greatest virtue. Yes, I realized it. And right now, I've started helping myself to walk in patience. I mean, I have started helping to walk around being a patient person. Because, women naturally, we do not have patience for BS. As time goes by, I realized that a patient person has mastered a lot of acts. You must have mastered the act of even being disciplined for you to be patient. Am I making sense? You must have mastered the act of being disciplined for you to graduate to being patient. You can't just be patient for nothing. There's something that comes to patience. Patient doing what? So in the times where you are patient, what is happening around? Now, there are different scenarios we can talk about patience. We can talk about patience in anger management. We can talk about patience in waiting on something or waiting for something. We can talk about patience in trying to get something, right? So there are different aspects to patience, but I'll just try to touch the ones that I come across. First of all, let's divert to anger management. I know that, they're not the same, but let's divert. How do you manage your anger? Now, these days, I have realized something. Sometimes I can't control my anger. So the best thing I do is these days, I just go straight to my bed, lie down, and cry. And when I'm done crying, I sleep. And when I'm done sleeping, I can make a better decision. So I'm training myself, disciplining myself to be patient, not to take decision in the heat of the moment. So I would just take a few steps backwards, figure out my emotions, because my emotions can be all over the place sometimes. Figure out my emotions, sleep on it, get better. So now I am no longer in that atmosphere. I'm in a better atmosphere. And then I think about it patiently now, review everything, and make a proper decision based off of my present emotion, not the bruised and hot and triggered emotion. I am making decision based on a more stable emotion and a more stable and calm place. That's why I said patience is a virtue, and patience is one of the strongest virtue, because one wrong decision can put you 10 years backward. One wrong decision can slow you down, and one right decision can shoot you 10 years forward, if you know what I mean, right? So that is patience based off of emotions, how to manage anger. That's you trying to embrace being patient, not to flare up in the heat of the moment. Now let's talk about patience in a form of you waiting on something or waiting for something, right? Now that is the one that is the hardest. I can't even talk about that. I'm not even qualified to talk about patience based off of waiting, because I don't think I've ever gotten to a point where I am so desperate in need of something and time is failing me, or I have to be forced to be patient. Yeah, sometimes God forces me to be patient, because sometimes there are some things I want, but I feel like I'm ready, but I'm not ready for it. And God knows that if He gives me at the moment and the time I want it, I would lose it. And I would lose it with my own hands. So, but talking about patient when you are waiting on something or for something, I feel like the best thing to do at that time is now to focus on you. I realize when you focus on you, time passes without you realizing. There are so many things that we've gotten in this life that we got it without even realizing that we've gotten what we have been waiting for. But the reason why we didn't even realize we got it is because we focused on something else, which is us. The hardest project to develop is self-project, is yourself. When you're waiting for something or you're waiting on something, the best project to embark on is self-development. When you start developing yourself, developing your business, developing your studies, your intellect, your entire self, you realize that you no longer have time to wait on anything, because you realize that you thought you knew a lot, but when you start with yourself, you realize there's so much about you. There's so much about you you don't even know. So you'll be intrigued about you. You become your project, and you'll be intrigued about just finding out what works for you, what better way to get yourself developed. Eventually, the thing you were waiting for or the thing you were waiting on would come. You would get it without even realizing you've gotten it, because you were too busy developing yourself. So that's all I can say about that. I can't go further because God has never put me in a point where I have to wait such a long time that it frustrates me. Or maybe I never realized it because I'm always up to something. I'm always up to something. I always have one project or the other. And most of my projects, 70% of all my projects are self-development projects. So maybe that's why it seemed like I don't notice the wait. All right. So that's all I can say about waiting on something, being patient because you're waiting on or for something. The last segment of patience I would say is being patient with yourself. Yeah, I said it. Now, this is the part where we don't talk about. You see how they say, be patient with him, be patient with her, be patient with your children, be patient with your parents, be patient with your friends. How many people have told you be patient with yourself? Be patient with yourself. Every single year, you're entering an age you have never been in before. Every single move you make is you making a move you've never made before. Every single project you make in any year you make it, it's the same as new because you're testing it. There's one book I read and it said, I have to be patient in becoming who I have never been before. A lot of us are changing into people that we have never been before. We're touching money that we've never touched before. We're entering places that we've never entered before. We're entering relationships that we've never entered before. We're changing status that we've never been to before. Going to schools that you've never gone to before. Give yourself grace of patience. Give yourself patience. Give yourself grace. Have patience on you. Because sometimes we're under pressure of, oh, why am I not doing it right? Why am I not doing? Be patient, my love. Be patient. You've never been here before. You've never done that before. That's the first time you're trying it. You know how when you're cooking when you're making a meal that's the first time of you making that meal, you cannot be so hard on yourself because the first time is always trial, right? The first time is always test. It's always trial. You don't, you know what I mean. You don't call a lot of people that, oh, I'm cooking. You want to even test it yourself if you made it right before cooking so much for other people. I want you to start looking at life like that. It's just patient. It's just a test. Be patient, but yet be prepared. They're two different things. Do not ever allow opportunity meet you unaware, unprepared. After being patient, do not forget in the period of waiting or of being patient, be prepared. And that is why I said when you're waiting on something or for something, the next thing to do is to go back to the drawing board, which is you, and start doing self-development projects and develop yourself and be prepared for the big win. So now going back to talk about being patient with yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself, honey. Don't be too hard on yourself. You've never been there before. You've never been there before. Maybe you were 24 and you just clocked 25 and you're having anxiety and you're tired. You've never been 25 before. This is your first time being a 25-year-old. And this is your first time being a 30-year-old. This is your first time being a 35 years old. Be patient with yourself. God is patient with you. Why are you not patient with yourself? Be patient with yourself. You're just getting here. You just got here. Enjoy it and be patient with yourself. These days, I just carry my personal life and twist it into knowing that if I can be feeling this way, I know somebody else must be feeling this way. So let's talk about it. And that's why I feel like, you know what, let's talk about patience. How do you deal with pressure of impatient? Is to have patience with yourself. The way to deal with the pressure of impatience is to have patience with yourself. And by the time you yourself can have patience with yourself, you would realize that nobody can rush you into anything because you are not rushing yourself. I'm going to end here. Anyway, if you watch to this point, that means you are at the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching this episode and thank you for being here to this point. Please follow all our social media platforms at DeTruthPod, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and comment. See you on our next episode. Have a great day.